Everyone, it's Coach Kim here. This video, as it says in the title, is going to be a short Evelynn mechanics video. The reason why I'm doing this is because in my written guide for Evelynn, I don't actually have descriptions on how to actually fight on Evelynn, only the pre-game on the clears, builds and runes, whatnot. So this video is going to go briefly on how to do those things, because if you're completely new at Evelynn, trying to approach enemies as Evelynn is going to be really difficult. Not a lot of players know how to do it. You have to be really creative, and yeah, let's get into it. So, first thing we can go over is how the Q targeting works. You'd think that it would target whoever you hit Q on, but that's not actually the case. The way Q targeting works is it's the last person that you've damaged. So even if I Q this guy, but then I auto him once, all of my Qs are going to go over to the guy I just last hit. So if, let's say, you're fighting in a minion wave, and this is the minion wave, and he's over here, and you try and throw the Q, but then you miss it, don't start mashing Q, because then the Q is going to go to the minions. So if this happens, you can Q, and then auto, and then get the Qs here. Of course, you don't want this to happen. You do want the Q to hit them, but let's say this does happen, do not mash Q, or it will go on these guys before you hit the auto. As for order on when to use abilities, there's a huge difference between QE and EQ. Not a lot of players know this, but when you hit a champion, or actually it doesn't matter if it's a champion, if you hit anything with your lasher, you can see these three little things around the enemy. That basically means that the next three times you damage that enemy, you're going to deal bonus damage. So if we hit E and then Q, it's going to do a total of 1,041 damage to this target dummy. But if we do Q and then E, it should be a lot more. 1675. That's massive. That's 600 bonus damage that you missed because we hit E first. So whenever you're fighting, you always want to hit the Q, and not just miss it and then like full combo them. Like you have to really hit it. So that's 1800. I mean, this isn't even empowered E, and it went up by 400 damage. So it's really important to actually hit the lasher, because it does do increased damage. As for how to use charm, since I know a lot of people have problems using it, and either they don't use it at all because they don't know how to use it, or they over-exaggerate their use for it. So when you're using charm on an enemy, you have to consider your positioning relative to theirs, where the tower is, where you can be seen, and then determine whether or not you are able to charm them. So if you're ganking mid, and there is a laner right here, and then you have your laner right here, and then you have the minions in the middle, it's going to be really hard to charm from here, and then walk into them, throw the Q, and then full combo them. Because the second they get in your vision range right here, actually, they won't even start moving back when this happens. The moment they get charmed, they're already going to start moving back. And so, unless you have Flash, or you have Protobelt or Smite, although Smite needs to be paired with Flash. So unless you have Protobelt or Flash, you're not going to be able to get those targets. So for this, what you want to do is, instead of waiting for the charm to proc, all you need to do is WQ and get the slow off. That way you can still have a way to get into them without needing the charm. Now you're going to lose a lot of damage for this, but if you wait for the charm to fully go off, they're just going to move back and you're not going to be able to hit it. So all the time, if you're not able to get the full charm and you know you can't get the full charm, just WQ, or if for whatever reason the W wasn't up, you can Q first, and then W, and then slow them with the spikes instead. Now, it's different if the enemy is farther in, and you actually have time to W. Don't go over here and W. If you press W at this distance, they're gonna run into your vision line, and then they're gonna start moving this way. So what you want to do is, when you're ganking from behind, is you go all the way over here, you W them, right? They're going to start moving back, and you're going to move back with them. You don't want to move into them. If they see you, they're going to change their movement, and if they have movement spells like Flash, maybe they go over here, right? There's a lot of things they can do, or they could even fight back, right? If you don't have Banshees, they could turn on you. So what you want to do is when you charm them and they're moving in, you move with them. Of course, it's going to get to a point where you go near tower and then tower spots you, but then by that time, the charm's already mostly lit up, and then you can kill them that way. So now you have the one-shot combo. Going back to the QE versus EQ, remember it's always important to hit the Q first. So again, if we do EQR, that's 3655 damage, right? Now, I'll just wait for electrocute to pop up, but it's to no one's surprise. If you Q first, it's going to do a lot more damage. Actually, no. Oh, there we go. 4,000. And I didn't use my hate spikes, so it's definitely a lot more damage. Always lead with your Q, then your E, then your ult. If you ult first, you won't be able to hit the E. You can add charm too if you want. It only slows down the combo. You're only using this one-shot combo when they're coming into you. If you're running down enemies, the combo is slightly different. So this is when we come into Proto Belt and Smite usage. So when you, and by the way, you'd never run Night Harvester on Evelynn. It's always Proto Belt. So for when using Proto Belt, you never want to Proto Belt Q. Always Q Proto Belt. So you're going to see here the difference in speed when I do Q Proto Belt versus Proto Belt Q. So with Proto Belt Q, she like jumps forward and then shoots out the Q. But with Q Proto Belt, she like moves with the Q. So it's way faster. You don't want to be doing this. That's way too slow. Always, always, always Q Proto Belt. See, the Proto Belt pulls you into the E range so that you can just hit them. So that's how you engage with Proto Belt. As for Smite, it's generally the same thing, although because Smite doesn't have a cast time, you can just generally do it whenever you want. Just Q Smite, go in on them. It's pretty standard. As for when they're really far away, but you have your ult, and you know that you can be in a position afterwards that you won't die, you can ult to engage. Not a lot of people realize this, although everyone knows that Evelynn's ult sends her backwards, but not everyone is able to properly utilize the dash mechanic. People will always like do this to jump over walls and stuff, but they'll never use it to fight because they always think that they need the damage, right? You never want to do this. You never want to ult and then QE. That's way too slow. You're gonna give them too much time. What you want to do is before you ult, you need to have the charm activated on them. This way, it gives them less time to react. If you just ult, they immediately see you, right? And once they start seeing you, they're gonna run away from you, and they're not gonna be in range anymore. So what you want to do is WR, and then get close to them, and then break it. That way, even if they do realize that you're there and they're moving away from you, all it takes is one spell from you, and they're either slowed or charmed. Because, I mean, this has a delay, right? So if I do this, and I Q, it's not going to charm. But it still grants a slow. By this time, if you're even ulting for damage, you're way ahead of the enemy, and you can just one-shot them. So all you really need is a slow, you don't really need the charm. And that's pretty much it. This is the really brief Evelynn mechanics guide. Hope you enjoyed.